Man, we're gonna do something new in this caller episode as well. Listen, you guys comment every week. You guys leave a lot of comments, and I've been meaning to start interacting with the comments more. I read them all the time, but I want to actually address some of them on the show because I think it'll, just be a fun time for all of us. So everyone who so far has any thoughts on the calls you've taken today or just anything in general, dude, I don't know. You can comment, say what you ate for breakfast. Drop it in the comments. Let me know, dude. I would love to hear from you. But the first comment that we have to read this week is from Chango Bango 1622. And Chango Bango says, make these 2 hours long. In reference to the caller episodes. He wants the caller episodes to be 2 hours long. Immediately followed by Asylum Patient saying, don't make these 2 hours long. He said, fuck that. I like Asylum Patient. Listen, let me tell you guys something, okay? I see a lot of you guys comment about the caller episodes and you want them to be longer, which is great. That means you like the episodes. I love to hear that. But let me just explain a little bit about what goes into making the caller episodes. These episodes, doing the calls, is so much more time consuming and it takes way more prep and production than the guest episodes. When we sit down and we go for like 4 hours with a guest, we don't have to do 4 or 5 hours of prep to sit down and do that with a guest. We walk in, clean up the set, point the cameras, and the majority of what you see on film is just the work we put in. Obviously, there's editing after, but the lead up to that, it doesn't take all day to prepare for that. With the caller episodes, when I post a topic, we get thousands of phone calls, guys. We get literally thousands of you calling in and leaving voicemails. On my Google Voice account right now, I have 9,730 unread voicemails. I just looked. Unread. And that's not because I ignore the majority of them. That's just the ones that I didn't have time to listen to every week that have slowly stacked up as the months and months have gone on of doing these caller episodes. For every hour and a half caller episode that you guys see on this show, it takes me genuinely probably 5 to 6 hours of prep time because I have to filter through all these calls. And listen, please don't get offended by this, anyone watching. 9 out of these 10 calls are fucking horrible. And they're just not things that you guys want to hear. I get a lot of voicemails. For example, today's topic was bad trips. A lot of the voicemails, I'd say probably 6 or 7 out of 10, are people just like, yeah, I had a bad trip. Call me back for the story. Elaborate on that, man. I try to post on my story along with the number and tell people how to give the story. But of course, not everyone reads that. It is what it is. It's human nature. So I have to filter all those calls. I don't just skip around and play 2 seconds of it. I try to listen in full and think like, oh, does this guy, tell the story well? Is this an interesting story? Is this something we'd like to hear on the show? There's a ton of work and time that goes into this caller episode. Also, even when we do pull a lot of good calls, as you saw today and last weekend in general on the caller shows, a ton of people don't answer. We edit out a ton of people that don't answer. I mean, there's a lot of times where we leave it in, like you've seen some today, but also there's been a lot of times where people don't answer, a few in a row, and we have to edit it out and cut and take more time to gather, more phone calls somehow, post again or pull some of the newer calls that we got while we were filming. And it's very, very time consuming to do these episodes. So what I will say is, listen, I understand in a dream world, these call episodes would be 4 hours long. But dude, if we had to do a 4-hour episode of taking calls, it would probably take us legitimately 12 hours to prepare for it. And I don't have that much time in the day. I want to go home, smoke, eat dinner, and go to bed and fucking live my life, I don't have time to listen to 5,000 calls a day, unfortunately. But the way I put it is like this, listen, this is my kitchen and I'm the chef, dude. Imagine I invited you over for dinner and I said you didn't even have to pay for it. And I prepared this beautiful dinner for you here, the Gobcast dinner, and I present it to you. And you clear your plate, you eat the dinner, and you look up to me and you say, that wasn't enough food. And do you know what I would say to you? I'd look you dead in the eyes and I would say, go to McDonald's, you I don't want to hear it. I honestly don't care. You didn't even pay for this dinner. This is the dinner. I worked so hard on this dinner. You weren't even here when I was cutting all the vegetables all day. I don't want to hear it. No, get the fuck out of my kitchen, dead ass. Don't come back. That's what I would say. That's what I compare it to, genuinely. So, hey, listen, enjoy the show, ladies and gents. We'll probably do some longer ones in the future. But listen, like 3-4 hours, even 2 hours, like, dude, that's a lot. You know, we put a lot of love into these caller episodes, guys. Legit. Like, we really work hard. I'd say these ones are way harder to do than the guest episodes, just in terms of like overall time investment and prep. These take some time, man. Next up on the list, we have Lil Bueno SBM. I feel like Goblin feels bad, so he takes boring calls sometimes. You know, sometimes people say it great in the voicemail, and then it gets to the phone call, and it is what it is. You can't predict that. Also, I think it's just different strokes for different folks, man. You know, hey, some people, maybe they find a certain call boring. I remember the one universally loved call was the guy who walked in on his Legos being smashed. I don't think a single person viewed that call negatively. Then we have some more of the debatable ones, like the guy who kept insisting he's never hit his girl while being arrested for doing that. That you know, that's more of a debatable one. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't. If I think a call is boring personally, I won't even put it in the list. I mean, if it's made it onto the show, I thought it is or is going to be a good call. You know, that's the way it goes. And also, I mean, sometimes we get bad calls and cut those too. There's been plenty of times where I speak to somebody and it doesn't make the show. You know, it's just, hey, it's part of it. I don't want to give you guys a boring phone call or a bad phone call. So I think every call I put on here is good. And if it wasn't, I generally wouldn't put it on the show. Next up, Jaden1120. We have... This is a crazy comment. He commented this on a recent, this is the Orson episode. And he said, I really like the sort of content, Goblin, where you talk to intelligent people and not like actual brain dead people. Although sometimes those are hilarious. Listen, dude, we don't have an IQ test to come on the podcast, you know? But Orson was probably, I agree with this comment in the sense of Orson is probably one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. That was just a whole big bucket of wisdom. You know, like that was sick. It was so cool because there's other guests on the show. I won't say a lot of them, but there's plenty of other guests on the show where like they're already online social media figures, and maybe you guys have heard from them on other platforms and you're familiar with them. But Orson, the episode that this was commented on, was totally one of one. That guy has no social media presence. I just happened to meet him by chance, and he's just the fucking GOAT. So that was really like, it was just a blast from the past hearing of his experiences and enjoying that kind of stuff that we won't get to hear anywhere else, you know? It's like sitting down at Grandpa's house after, you know, taking a couple shots of whiskey and, you know, maybe smoking on the porch, and, you know, it's time for him to tell you about his World War II stories. It reminded me a lot of that. I used to do that a lot when I was a kid at my grandpa's house, minus the whiskey shots and plus the blunts. I didn't drink whiskey till now. The next comment, this is actually, speaking of recent guests, Joel Blazer logged into his account, Living Spiritual Daily here, and left a comment saying, Gobbling breaks down weed price. Even though there was medication malfunction, this was my favorite podcast ever. Thanks, Gobby. I wanted to highlight this comment because, listen, dude, Joel, the first 2 hours of that episode, it was a 4-hour show. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it right now. Last week's episode is unbelievable. The first 2 hours are amazing. Joel is a dealer who was also a huge like deadhead, really involved in the Grateful Dead scene, went to prison, ended up doing years in Supermax at USP Marion, was a part of the SCI Talladega riots. Really fascinating guy. He ate an before the show and just got lost in the fucking sauce, like absolutely dazed and confused. So medication malfunction is actually that's my favorite way to word that. I love it, dude. It was a medication malfunction. That's all it was. That was an amazing episode, and you guys need to go watch it. And honestly, when he refers to me breaking down price, I have no idea what he's talking about. But honestly, Joel is such a trip. I generally just have no idea what he's talking about. So go watch the episode. It's amazing. Next up here, Freaky Frap. He says, please get Charlie Sheen on the podcast. Yo, I have like definitely a bucket list of guests. I won't put them in any specific order, but I'll name a few. Charlie Sheen is definitely one of my bucket list guests. Hunter Biden is another one of my bucket list guests. When I saw Channel 5 got that, I was like, damn it, dude. Like, that's like, if you see like I don't even know what to compare it to. It hits so deeply. It's like I got shot in the chest when I saw that interview. I was like, fuck, dude. That was the one interview like I wanted to get so bad. Like I wanted that one first. It's my dream interview, the breaking, smoking Hunter Biden fucking interview, dude. Maybe even bring Charlie Sheen on for a two-piece. Who knows? I don't know. But Charlie Sheen, Hunter Biden are very, very high up on my list. I really want to interview some of the OG, like, guys, you know, William Picard. I don't know if I said his last name right. Fascinating guy. He wrote a book recently. He got granted clemency, but he was like an OG. It's alleged that this guy was at one point responsible for up to 95% of LSD production globally, like all over the world. They were making it out of missile silos here in the U.S., you know? Unbelievable story. Those are probably three that like I really want on the show. I could keep rambling about that, but we'd be here all day. There's a lot of people I'd love to interview. Those are like probably pretty high up, my top three. Next up, we have a hate comment, dude. Ernst Worklich says he actually left this he commented on the episode of me and Kyle. Heads the pilot episode 1, the one that we put on this channel. Why are people watching a fat dude and a polytox junkie? When I see the fat dude, it depresses me. And then the crack junkie's like the cherry on top of the sadness muffin. I'm not going to lie. That's probably one of my... That was a pretty banger hate comment, dude. I mean, I don't know. This guy doesn't even have a preference, though. It's like, all right, you can hate the fat guy, but then, like, do you not fuck with the thin guy either? Like, what does he even want there, you know? I don't know. I mean, I think also people who watch me, you know, they're probably not here because they want to me, so they probably don't care if I'm a little wide or anything, you know. Next up, we have coming up in the world. He wants to know, I want to know where to get an ounce for $50. Only gas, dude. I can't say the end of the URL, but you could probably guess that, dude. You could probably maybe ask Google about that, you know. And last but not least is a comment that actually kind of reiterates what I said earlier. Black Gaming says, Orson is by far the best guest you've had. Most guests make Goblin the more interesting character, but I could listen to Orson speak all day. He's like a wise sage. First and foremost, I agree with you. I think like I don't think it's fair for me to say like I have a favorite guest because honestly, I only invite people on the show if I think they're going to be great on the show, and I believe I'm pretty flawless in that belief. You know, when I think someone's going to be good on the show, it pretty much always translates to an awesome episode. So I don't have any like specific, this is my favorite guest ever. But, like, Orson was one of the most enjoyable episodes I filmed for sure. The one with Joel I just did was a complete trip. RXK Nephew is one of my favorites of all time. Lush was a banger. Jacob Jones was amazing. I mean, just all those episodes immediately come to mind. Raw G was fucking awesome, chilling out in the woods. All those guests. But Orson was a very unique one. A lot of the other guests on this show probably have a lot in common. Orson, I think, is in a way the most disconnected from our usual that we've ever had on the show. And I definitely, hey, listen, if you guys got a cool ass uncle or grandpa, you know, Orson style, bang my fucking line, I probably want to talk to that guy. But listen, drop a comment below, share your thoughts on this week's episode, tell me what you've been up to, talk about whatever you want down there. I don't really care because I'm reading comments on the show now, so buckle up for that. I'm going to read your comments right here on the show. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's caller episode. Make sure to drop a like if you did and subscribe if you haven't already, as well as go tap in on Spotify because Spotify is completely uncensored. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to my friends at iBay. You can check them out. Type them in on Google. You probably know where to find them. But I've been really enjoying this stuff, and I've got it here on the table because I want to tell you that you should enjoy it as well, and it's very fire. So shout out to iBay. You should know what to do with that info. I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.